up guys, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'm going to be doing my entire Godzilla collection. So most of this is Godzilla stuff, but I have some King Kong stuff in here too. So let's get straight to the video. First we do have this giant King Kong. He is humongous. So here he is compared to my head. He is so big. See his teeth. He's got scratch marks. Yeah, he is super big. He could move his shoulders, can move his elbows and his wrists, move his head, and then you could just move his ankles. So that's what you can move on the King Kong. So there's the first one, King Kong. Alright, next up we have a giant Mecha Godzilla. This one is super cool. He has a lot of detail. Super long. Pretty big too. You can move his arms, rotate his neck, and that's it, I think. Oh no, you could also kind of swivel his hips a little bit. So yeah, here's the Mecha Godzilla. Got some pretty good detail on the face. Some red there, and that's really all the paint that they use. Well, down here too. And I think this is also paint too. So, a lot of detail on this Mecha Godzilla. Next up, I got this one for Christmas, as you remember, the King Kong. So this one's super cool. Is King Kong chained up. So this one's super cool. I'll show you the "and" in a little bit because it's somewhere in that box. So here's the King Kong. It says King Kong on the stand. And then let me just give you a closer thing of this King Kong. So he's got a lot of detail in his mouth. He's got a rotating arm, one rotating elbow. And then he just has one rotating arm. He can rotate his head. He can rotate his legs, and he can rotate his waist too. So he's got a lot of rotation or articulation, and he also has a bunch of chains on him. So there's the King Kong. Next up, we have another King Kong. This one's from Godzilla vs. Kong. He is super cool, pretty tall. You can move his legs, you can move his ankles, well, a little bit. You can move his arms, you can move both his hands. You could also move his head. So this guy is super big, about just a little bit bigger than my head. He's got a lot of fur too. His eyes looks like orange eyes. That'd be pretty cool to have. So there's that. Next up, we have a big Godzilla. Here he is. He is super big. You can move his tail. You could sort of move his head, but it's not really supposed to move. You can move his arms and his wrists. You can also move his legs and his ankles. So he's got a lot of articulation, got a bunch of paint on the spike, so he's about to do an atomic breath. And there's his mouth. And then also has orange eyes. So that looks pretty cool. Also really big. So there's that one. Next up, we have a King Caesar. So he's super cool. You can rotate his ears upwards if you want to. It's a little bit hard. If you want to do that, you can. Personally, I like them down. I can't remember exactly what they're like in the movie, but I think they're down in the super old movie. And, well, not super old, but kind of old movie. And then also Godzilla 2004 Final Wars. He's also in that movie, so I'm not exactly sure. So, I think I know what two animals he is. So I want you to try to guess in the comments down below what two animals is he. That's also a question on Toy Pals TV. So to him he's the one who created that question. So yeah, you could also move his tail, his waist, his arms, the ears also. So there he is. Also, yeah, he has a lot of detail on him. Super cool. Next up, we have a Mechagodzilla Funko Pop, which I did get for Christmas. He's got super cool spikes, pretty big head, feels super sturdy. So yeah, this is about how much detail, like extra paint there is on the SH Monster Arts. One, I watched a review on that. I do not have it, but I saw a review on it. So yeah, we got this super cool Mechagodzilla Funko Pop. Next up, we actually have kind of a weirder King Kong. It's kind of like a brownish one. Not really like what King Kong is maybe in Skull Island. Yeah, you can move his legs. Same as the other one, same articulation. So, a little shorter than the other one, but pretty close. I also have one mystery one at the end that I actually just got earlier today. So that will be at the end. It's a mystery one. Well, I'll probably keep that in the box so I remember. Next up, we have a giant Rodan. You could actually move his head, his wings, and both his legs, which is quite a bit of articulation for just this. So he doesn't have much paint. He only has that paint unless all this other stuff is painted, or I'm not sure if it's just the color of the plastic or if it's painted. I think it might be brown plastic with some red painting. But it's got a lot of detail on him. So he's got his hands too. So there's the giant Rodan. I do have the smaller one, which I'll show you later. But the next one that we got is, can you guess it? It's Destroya. So this is the Destroya. Super cool. He's really big for this kind of figure. He's got a super long tail. So that's pretty long. It's got the yellow horn on him. Got some detail on the eyes and the mouth. So yeah, he has 4 wings, 2 main wings, and 2 little wings. So there's Destroya. And next up we have a skull crawler from King Kong Skull Island. You can move the back of its tail, can move the legs and the knees can move. You could also open the mouth. So here's the cool feature. You could take this piece off right there and it's battle damaged. So you just put that back. Not that tricky. So there's that, and then there's the eyes right there, and then the nose. And then there's his mouth. So there you go. This is the skull crawler. Next up we have a Godzilla. I think this is from the 2014 movie, or this is from King of the Monsters. It is the same Godzilla. It's just, I'm not sure when this came out. Should say. Not on here. So yeah, there's this one. It's got some super cool spikes. So yeah, you can move the tail, the legs, the arms, and you can move the head. Kind of weird because it has a spike on it, so if you rotate it all the way, the spike is on this side. But yeah, that's just, which is really cool. One of my favorite Godzillas. So there's that one. There's the face. Next up, we have a giant Godzilla. So this is the Final Wars Godzilla. So he actually has ears. Not that many of the Godzillas have ears, I can remember. So there's that one. He has ears, except for the Godzilla vs. Biollante, which has ears. So there's him. Looks super cool. It's got some super cool spikes on him. And he's pretty tall. About as tall as the Mechagodzilla that I showed you earlier. Next up, we have sort of a video game Godzilla. This is made by NECA. You could open his mouth. It's a little hard to open his mouth, though. He has a lot of detail on his teeth. The eyes look really good. And he's green and he's got red spikes. You can move his tail. So he has a bunch of ball joints in his tail. Yeah, he's got quite a few there. You can rotate the legs. You can move the knees. Sorry if you couldn't see that before about the ball joints. Those over to the side. You can also move his leg. You can move his knees, but it's a little hard to move his knees. You can rotate his feet. You can move his waist a little bit, his arms, his elbows, his hands, and the fingers. You can also move the neck, the other part of the neck, and the mouth. So there's a lot of articulation on this. So this is one of the it's more expensive than some of the other ones, but not that expensive. By what can I remember, I think it was like $20 or something. So pretty good. So yeah, there's that one. I've got another NECA one, which is a old Godzilla. This is one of my favorites. He also has a lot of articulation. See, he has even more in the tail. You could bend it a lot right there. But mainly otherwise all the same articulation that the other one had. Except this has a lot more detail in his mouth and looks a lot more real. So I think I like this one more than the other NECA one, but I think this one's really cool, and then that other one is still also really cool. So we have that one. And then I have one more NECA, but it is missing one of the hands. I'm not sure what happened to it. You can see it's missing one of the hands right there. But this also has a lot of detail and articulation. Can only open the mouth a little bit. So he has ears, so I think this is a Godzilla vs. Biollante one. It's got about the same amount of articulation as the other one, just not as much in the tail. But he looks super cool, so there's that one. Alright, next up we have one from the set that I got on Christmas. Was from the Godzilla vs. Hedorah. So there's this one. You could probably move his legs if you tried to. You can move his hands, and you can, yeah, I think that's actually it. Looks like you could rotate it, but I'm not sure. I think just the hands, though. He's got a lot of detail, though. He is super cool. So yeah, this is one of the older ones. So yeah, there's that one. Alright, next up we were speaking of Hedorah. We have the two forms. We have the first form, which has got super cool red eyes, and in the movie can fly. And we also have the final form of Hedorah, which this one you cannot move anything. On both of these you can't move anything. But they do have super cool eyes. So there's that. But these have a lot of detail, especially him. He has a lot of detail on him. More than a lot of the Godzilla figures, unless you're getting an SH Monster Arts. Next up we have the last of the super big Godzillas. We have this one. I'm not exactly sure which movie this one's from. It almost looks like Godzilla 2000 from the head, but from the body it doesn't look like it's Godzilla 2000. So I'm still going to say this is Godzilla Final Wars Godzilla. So I'm not sure if it's Final Wars Godzilla or not, so let me know in the comments down below if you know which Godzilla this is, because it also has those big ears. But yeah, you can move the arms, rotate the head, move the legs. There's 3 joints on the tail, and yeah, so there's articulation for him. So this is one of my favorites, so yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you know which Godzilla this is. Next up, we have a Mecha Godzilla. So yeah, we have the Mecha Godzilla. This is from Christmas too. I have one that looks almost exactly like it, except this one you can move the waist, the 2 hands, and the head. And it feels like more like a plasticky more than the other one. Let me find it. Here, it's more of a softer plastic. So here they are in comparison. Actually the same articulation, but here they are. This one definitely has more detail. See, right there. So yeah, they're pretty cool. Then I have two Rodans. So we have the one that I got on Christmas. So yeah, this one you can move both of the legs and you can move the head. While this one you can't move anything. This one is quite bigger. This one has more detail. You can see on the heads right there. So yeah, honestly I think I like this one more than this one, but they're pretty close. Okay. Next up, we have a battle damaged Godzilla. This is from Godzilla vs. Kong. This is a super cool one. It's got, once again, the blue spikes. You could open the mouth right there. See, rotate the head, move the arms, the legs. You could kind of move the ankles and the tail. So the cool thing about him is you see this thing right here. You could take it off and it's battle damaged. So there's that Godzilla. This is one of my favorite Godzillas. It's pretty cool. Yeah, there we go. Next up, we have this old Godzilla once again. This is one of the older Godzillas. So you can move the tail, the legs, and the arms. So yeah, this one's pretty cool. I really like it. It's got a lot of detail on him. It's a super cool Godzilla. Yeah, this is one of the older ones. Also don't know what year this is from. So also let me know in the comments down below what year this Godzilla is from. Okay, next up we have a King Ghidorah, which is super cool. It's got big, huge wings. Has 3 heads, which all have a lot of detail on them. There's the eye. You could also rotate the tail. And of course, you could also rotate the wings. So if you want to have them sort of back like this, you do that. Or if you want to have them like he's standing like this, you could also have him flying too, like that. So there's King Ghidorah, super cool, or Monster Zero, whatever you want to call it. Then we have another battle damaged Godzilla, except this one has like a bunch of rubble on it. But one thing I really like about this is the cool see-through spikes, which are super cool. Yeah, you could also open the mouth. Same articulation as the other one. Also, this one's kind of hard to take off the battle damage. But yes, you can take off the battle damage for this one. I cannot find the Kong that goes with that one, but it did come with the Kong. So here's almost the same one as the other one, just with not as much paint on him. Same articulation, and still the super cool spikes on him. And yeah, you could also do this so he's battle damaged. That's what I really like about these, how you can have them be battle damaged. And when the new Godzilla, A New Empire, or Godzilla X Kong, A New Empire toys come out, I will do a review on those too. Next up we have a Burning Godzilla. So this is a Burning Godzilla before he was in the Meltdown version. He has a lot of cool fiery details. You got the orange spikes. Nothing really special on this tail, but I still really like this one. Yeah, you can rotate his head, his arms, his legs, and part of his tail, the back part of his tail. So there's this Godzilla. Next up, we have a Space Godzilla, which I do really like. So here he is. He's got a super long tail, and he's got the cool ice spikes, and then these 2 big ice spikes. So I think, or crystal spikes, sorry, I said ice. So they're not actually ice spikes, they are crystal spikes. He's got this super cool arrow on him, right there. There he is. Got a lot of detail. He's got the red and then, yeah, the crystals. It's super cool. Next up, we have a King Ghidorah. This is a smaller one, which I also got on Christmas, if you remember that video. So it was just a few days ago, actually, I posted it, so go check that one out. So you could just move these heads. That's all the articulation. Oh no, you could also move the legs. And you can't really move the wings. So that's the articulation. It's got some super cool tails, mainly all gold. So I do really like that one. Next up, we have a smaller Rodan. It's the same as earlier, except just a bit smaller. Same articulation, exactly the same articulation, which is pretty good for how small this is. And he even has some pretty cool detail on his face. So he looks super cool, got super cool wings. The wings are about the same length as my face, about. Well, maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, quite longer than my face. So yeah, next up is a Mothra. This is super cool. He has super cool wings. Godzilla on them, looks like. And then got some detail on the eyes right there. So he is super cool. Has some nice claws. And he could do this, throw him up. He won't really fly, but I bet if you made something, like put a few balloons on him, he could probably fly. If you put a few balloons on him. Next up, we have a Shin Godzilla. This Godzilla is super cool. He has a lot of detail. His hands are like this instead of like normal Godzilla like this. Got a lot of nice red and then got some red right here on the tail. He has a super long tail, about that long, which is about the same length of how tall he is, but if you straighten it out, it'll be taller than this. So he's super cool. So very cool. Next up, we have two Godzillas. And these two Godzillas are almost the same, except they have a bit different paint. Their heads are about the same, except this one, the teeth are a little bit more sloppy than this one. This one looks like it's been fighting a little more. And then this one, the spikes are a lot bigger than this one. And then the tail, they're quite similar, but this one is a bit longer. So there's those two. Next up we have I think this is a Godzilla Final Wars Godzilla. You can move his hands. You can move and then his legs you could also move, which is super cool. It's got a lot of cool shading on his spikes. It's got a lot of detail there, and then there's the eyes right there. So there's that one. Next up we have this is Godzilla after he got his power up from Mothra. So if you remember that scene in Godzilla King of the Monsters, sorry if you haven't watched that movie. They're just, since a lot of the movies are already out now, and well, it's been out for a while, just wanted to do that. So yeah, you could also move the tail and this part of the tail. You can move both his hands, rotate his neck, and both his legs, which is quite a bit of articulation for a small figure like this. So that's pretty cool. Alright, next up we have a Burning Godzilla. This is a bit smaller than the other Burning Godzilla that I showed you earlier, but I think this does have a bit more detail than that one. It's got a lot of cool detail on the spikes too, and even has a little bit of paint right there, just a little bit, but still pretty cool. And then I have one more Burning Godzilla. Or no, I have two more Burning Godzillas. So this one is super cool. It is about the same as the other one, except it has quite a bit more paint. And it's metallic orange, which is super cool. It's got painted red eyes. You can move the legs and the arms, which is super cool. This is probably one of my favorite burning Godzillas. So there's that one. Next up, we have two finger puppets. So we have the 2001. That was Alexa. We have a Godzilla. This is a 2001 Godzilla. You can see his eyes are a bit different. So there's that one. Then next up we have a burning Godzilla. So this one is super cool. It's got a lot of detail for a small thing like this also. And then you could like make them fight or something. So these are pretty cool. I really like them. I got it at a store called Tuesday Morning, if you've ever heard of it. It's not around anymore, or at least where I live. So next up we have a Jet Jaguar. So this was from, I think, Godzilla vs. Megalon, if I believe. So he's got a lot of detail. You can move his head, you can move both his arms and his waist. He's got a lot of detail. So a lot of cool paint, even on the back side right there. So here's a Jet Jaguar. And then, yeah, speaking of Megalon, I have a Megalon right here. This is from one of the Godzilla games. So there's the Megalon. He's super cool. So yeah, he doesn't have any paint. It's solid plastic though, but I still really like it. Next up we have a Space Godzilla. So he's got more crystal spikes. He's got some on his tail too. Except this isn't the exact color of the real one, but it's pretty cool. You could kind of move his arms a little bit, and then his tail you could wiggle around because it's made out of rubber. It's got a lot of cool paint right here, and there he is close up. So Space Godzilla. Next up, we have another Godzilla from Godzilla King of the Monsters. This one has some blue spikes on him, but same articulation as the other ones earlier. So yeah, you can move 2 points in his tail, which is super cool. So there he is. Next up, we have a Godzilla Earth. So this is from Godzilla Earth. He is super cool. You can move his arms, move his legs. Yeah, and he's got metallic blue on him, which looks super cool. It's kind of sparkly too, as you can see. And then, yeah. Yeah, there he is. Next up, we have a Mothra larva. So this is a Mothra larva, like I said. He is super cool. He's got a bunch of little areas on him, which I cannot remember the name of. He's got the mouth right there, and then there's his eyes. This is the Mothra larva. So I do actually have the Mothra that came with that, which you saw in the last video, but it is out there in my other room. So go back to the other video and you could see it in that last video of what I got for Christmas. So, yep. Next up we have I'm not really sure which kaiju this is, but it's this guy. I do not know his name, so let me know in the comments down below if you do know his name. He is super cool. It's like he got a blaster on top, and then like a cage right there. So you can move his waist and his arms, which is super cool. Not much paint, just right there. So that's it. So there's that one. Next up we have a Anguirus, which I also got for Christmas, which is super cool. It's got some detail on his face. So not very pokey, but it feels good if you're like if you're just like doing this or put it against your hand. It feels pretty good. It's like a nice massage on your hand. See, just not much. But yeah, it's pretty soft too, so it's not like very hard. So next up we have some of these little figures. I forgot what they're from, but we have a Godzilla, a Mecha Godzilla, and we have a Destroyer, which is super cool. I really like the Destroyer. They have a lot of detail on them. So, and then there's Godzilla. So there's those. So yeah, we have that one. Next up we have a collection of them. There's a few of them. So it's a little Godzilla set that I'm not sure if it's available anymore. I just know it was one of the coolest sets that I have right now. And then, so this is the second to last thing that's in there. Okay, so first up we have, I think this is actually Anguirus. Check. Let's see, so yeah, there's the difference. I think this one is Anguirus. So there they are. This one just has like a bit of a longer snout. Like if you size them together, it's the same size. They'd about have, he'd have a longer snout. He has bigger spikes though and a much longer tail, so I think this is Anguirus though. Then it also came with a green Godzilla, which is super cool. Doesn't really have any spikes, but they're kind of small, but pretty cool. I really like this one. So yeah, I think I have all the things from the set right here. Next up we have, stuff's falling. We have a Gigan, which has a super cool like saw right here. He's got 3 of these. He's got also a lot of detail. So he has a lot of detail, which I'm super surprised about on these little things. So there's Gigan. Next up we have Zilla from the 19-something. This was one of the films that was made in the United States. He has a lot different spikes than all the other Godzillas. So yeah, they called him Zilla. So he's pretty cool. Next up we have a normal Godzilla. So there's normal Godzilla. He's got spikes. He looks super cool. Next up we have a Ice Godzilla. So you can see through him a little bit right there. He's got the ice spikes. So yeah, this is an ice one. Ice Godzilla. Super cool. Next up we have an orange Godzilla. I'm not really sure what this is. Could be fire, but we do have a red one. So I'm not exactly sure what this is. Maybe it's lava Godzilla or something. It does look like burning Godzilla. A little bit, but not completely. So he's pretty cool. Maybe it's Meltdown Godzilla. Next up we have like a water Godzilla. He looks super cool. See through him. It's got the super cool blue spikes. This is one of my favorites right there. Blue water Godzilla. Then yeah, we got the fire Godzilla. He looks super cool. This is my favorite out of them, just because of how cool the red looks on Godzilla. Yeah, I really like this one. So maybe this one's Meltdown Godzilla, because this is the color that he was when he melted down in the old movie. So now it's finally time for the one that we've all been waiting for. The one that I got earlier today. The giant Biollante. So here's Biollante. He's got super long, like tentacle arms almost. So that's super cool. He's got like a mouth on there. He's got this orange right here, the back, a different shade of green. And here's his face. He's got a ton of teeth in there, which are not painted, but still pretty cool. Then he's got 3 spikes right there. His eyes are also painted like that. So there's Biollante. And I think I have one of the Godzilla vs. Biollante Godzillas, which I did get for Christmas, but that's also out there. But it was the exact same size as this one. So this is about up to scale if you're going from the movie. So yeah, this is Biollante. In my opinion, this is my favorite out of the Godzilla villains. I think this is actually my favorite Godzilla character. Not a lot of people would agree with me on that one, but that's what I think. So yeah, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I hope you liked that video. It was sort of a longer video, so I hope you guys watched to the end. And if you watched to the end, I want you to type something in the comments. I just want you to say football. If you watch to the end, make sure to type football in the comments. So yeah, and I'll see you in the next video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and yeah. Alright, bye guys.